The sky burned red. The morning began like any other, but by noon the world was not the same. Children were walking to school, workers were in their offices, and people moved in the streets of busy cities. The sun was shining bright, but suddenly the light dimmed. At first, many thought it was an eclipse, something natural, something harmless. But then the sky turned red. It was not a gentle shade of red, but a burning, fiery color that spread across the heavens like blood spilled on glass. The clouds twisted into strange shapes, reflecting the glow from above. People looked up and gasped, pointing their fingers at the strange lights breaking through the atmosphere. In moments, televisions, radios, and phones were filled with the same breaking news. Unknown objects are entering Earth's orbit, the reporters said, voices shaking with fear. Above the world, massive alien ships spread out like shadows of monsters. They were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, huge, sharp, and dark, with glowing blue veins running along their surfaces. They moved in silence, blocking the sun and covering cities with darkness. For the first time in centuries, the whole world stopped together, united by fear. Governments scrambled to respond, military leaders shouted orders, launching jets into the sky. But communication towers started failing one by one. Strange static filled the airwaves, and satellites went dark. It was as if the invaders had reached into Earth's systems and crushed them with invisible hands. Then came the voice. It did not come from any human mouth, but from every device, television, radio, phone, even the loudspeakers in train stations. A cold, emotionless tone filled the world, speaking in perfect English. This world belongs to the Empire, the voice said. All humans are now subjects of the throne. The words echoed across Earth like thunder. Some dropped to their knees in prayer, others screamed, others ran. The arrogance of the voice sent shivers down every spine. It was not a request, not a warning, but a declaration of ownership. Earth, the home of humanity, had been claimed like a piece of furniture. In New York, a mother held her child tight as buildings cast long shadows under alien light. In Tokyo, traffic stopped as people abandoned their cars to stare at the sky. In Africa, villages gathered outside, holding hands, watching the burning heavens in silence. In Europe, church bells rang, not for worship, but for alarm. Everywhere, the reaction was the same. Fear, disbelief, anger. The aliens made their first move. A flash of blue fire lit up the horizon, followed by a roaring boom. One of their ships fired a weapon, striking an empty plain outside a city. The explosion tore the earth apart, sending fire and smoke high into the sky. The message was clear. Resistance would bring destruction. Panic spread like wildfire. Crowds rushed into underground shelters, subways, basements, anywhere that felt safe, but no one truly felt safe. Not when the enemy above was so vast and powerful. The governments of Earth tried to send messages of calm. Stay inside, remain strong, humanity will endure, the leaders said. But their words felt weak compared to the terrifying presence in the sky. Somewhere deep underground, hidden from public view, generals and scientists gathered. They studied the invaders, the signals, the weapons, and the ships. One general slammed his fist on the table. They think we are weak, they think we are prey, he growled. A scientist whispered back. But they don't know what we have hidden. They don't know what we are capable of. Even in that moment of fear, a spark of resistance began to glow. Above, the alien ships began moving again, spreading across continents like vultures circling their meal. Their shadows stretched long and wide, reminding humanity that they were no longer alone. But for every tear shed, for every scream heard, there was also a rising flame in human hearts. The invaders had underestimated the species they sought to enslave. They had made their first mistake by showing their arrogance so soon. As the red sky darkened into night, humanity prepared for the unknown. Some prayed, some cried, and some clenched their fists in silence. But everywhere, a single thought grew stronger. This was not the end. This was the beginning of a fight that would be remembered forever. And in the shadows, humanity's true strength was waiting to rise. The sky burned red, but the fire in human hearts burned brighter. What the aliens thought would be an easy conquest had already begun to turn into something else. The Empire had announced Earth as its colony, but humanity had already decided that no empire would ever rule them. The invasion had begun, and so had the resistance. The first strike. The world held its breath as the alien ships spread across the sky. Their massive bodies floated like steel mountains above the cities, their shadows covering the land below. People whispered in fear, wondering when the first true blow would fall. They did not have to wait long. The first strike came without warning. A single ship tilted its sharp nose toward Earth and fired. A stream of blue light cut through the sky like a sword. It struck a military base near the ocean, and in one heartbeat, the entire installation was gone. Flames roared, steel melted, and the sea boiled from the heat. News spread fast. Screens across the world showed burning ruins. The enemy had made it clear. They were not here to negotiate. They were here to conquer. Cities fell into chaos. Sire, and screamed. Soldiers rushed into the streets, and families ran into shelters. The invasion had begun in full force. Alien weapons tore through skyscrapers, leaving black smoke rising into the heavens. Bridges cracked, roads split, and whole neighborhoods vanished under bursts of energy. Jets tried to rise into the air, but alien beams cut them down before they could fire. The sky belonged to the Empire, and Earth's defenses seemed like toys. Yet even in that nightmare, something unexpected happened. A squadron of human pilots refused to back down. They launched from hidden hangars, their jets older, smaller, weaker, but flown with determination. The aliens fired at them, but the humans dodged in ways no machine predicted. One jet spun through fire and smoke and managed to fire missiles at the enemy. The missiles struck an alien craft, and for the first time, one of the invaders burned. The explosion was small compared to the giant fleet above, but it was enough. The world saw the fireball in the sky and cheered. For a moment, humanity tasted hope. The invaders were not gods. They could be hurt. The aliens roared back with fury. Their ships released swarms of drones, dark metal insects that filled the air. They shot down the brave pilots one by one, but the damage was done. The myth of alien invincibility had cracked. A single spark of resistance had been lit. In the streets, soldiers and civilians worked together. They fired rifles, threw grenades, hacked into alien drones with captured tech. A boy in one city used his laptop to jam an alien drone's signal, causing it to crash into a building. A farmer in another land fired an old rifle into the sky and, by luck, hit a drone's weak spot. Everywhere, humans fought back in small ways. The aliens saw this not as bravery, but as stubborn foolishness. They laughed at the resistance, unaware that such defiance was the power of humanity. Far above in the command ship, alien officers spoke in cold tones. "They are resisting harder than expected," one said. "Do not fear," another replied. "Their weapons are crude, their numbers weak, their spirit will break soon." But even as they spoke, they noticed something strange. Human patterns of attack were not like those of other conquered races. They were chaotic, unpredictable, and full of tricks no machine could calculate. As the first day of invasion dragged on, Earth burned, cities lay in ruins, fires lit up the night, and the smell of smoke and ash filled the air. But humanity had not surrendered. Even in the darkest hour, people whispered words of defiance. "This is our world," they said, "and we will not kneel." In a hidden underground chamber, world leaders spoke with hushed urgency. One asked, "How long can we hold?" Another replied, "Not long with what we show them, but they do not know everything." The room fell silent. Then the general at the table leaned forward. "It is time to reveal what we have kept in secret," he said. "And when we strike back, the galaxy will remember." Above the planet, the alien fleet prepared to unleash even greater destruction. But down below, something was beginning to move. Something the aliens had never seen. Something born not of arrogance, but of desperation and courage. The first strike had fallen, but it would not be the last, and the war for Earth was only beginning. The hidden arsenal. The world was burning, but in secret places, plans were already moving. While alien ships rained fire on the surface, deep underground bunkers remained untouched. In those bunkers, old doors opened with heavy groans, revealing hidden tunnels filled with dust and silence. Inside rested weapons that humanity had sworn never to use unless the world faced extinction. Now that day had come. Generals and scientists stood together. In the dim light, maps of Earth covered the walls, dotted with red marks showing alien strikes. The generals argued in harsh voices, "We cannot keep throwing soldiers into the sky. It is suicide." The scientists nodded. "We must show them that Earth is not helpless. We must reveal what we built in secret." Their words carried the weight of centuries, for humanity had always prepared for the day someone might come from the stars. The doors of hidden hangars began to rise, massive chambers carved into mountains, and deserts revealed steel giants sleeping in the dark. They were not just tanks or jets, but hybrid machines built with human creativity and stolen fragments of alien technology from old crashes, engines that hummed with strange energy, cannons that glowed with furious light. These were the weapons no enemy expected Earth to have. In one base, a colossal warship rose from the ground, its surface covered in black armor that shimmered like the night sky. It had no name spoken aloud, but whispers called it the Guardian. The ship's engines roared to life, sending tremors through the earth. Soldiers and engineers cheered as the monster of steel slowly rose. Above ground, alien drones detected strange power readings, but they were too late. The Guardian broke through the surface like a beast from legend. Its cannons lit up, firing bolts of energy that ripped through alien drones. The sky, once filled with enemy machines, cracked open with explosions of fire and metal. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens were pushed back. In the command ship above, alien officers froze. "How is this possible?" one demanded. "These humans were not supposed to have such weapons," another hissed. They scanned the Guardian, searching for familiar signals, but its design was unlike anything they had faced, full of strange human improvisations. The aliens realized without the chill that they had underestimated the species they came to conquer. Meanwhile, across the world, smaller arsenals awakened. Stealth jets with strange engines roared into the sky. Submarines carrying experimental torpedoes slipped silently through the oceans. Soldiers carried rifles that glowed with stolen alien energy, weapons once tested in secret labs. The earth was bleeding, but its hidden teeth were sharp. In one city, as alien ships rained fire, the Guardian appeared through the smoke. Its cannons blazed, tearing through an enemy cruiser. Civilians hiding in basements felt the ground shake, then heard cheers from above. They rushed outside and saw the burning wreck of an alien ship falling into the sea. Children pointed and shouted, "We can fight, we can win." Hope, once dim, began to burn again. The aliens, furious, turned their fleets toward the Guardian. They swarmed it with drones, bombarded it with beams of energy. But the great ship held strong. Its shields flickered but did not fall. Its weapons screamed like thunder. The humans inside fought not with fear, but with rage. Every strike they made carried the pain of their burning cities, the grief of their dead. The battle raged into the night, fire and light flashing across the skies. The Guardian survived, but not without scars. Its armor cracked, its engines strained, its crew exhausted. Still, it stood. And in its shadow, humanity stood taller too. The Empire had thought Earth was weak. They had thought humans were nothing but frightened animals. But now they saw the truth. Earth had been hiding more than courage. It had been hiding weapons that could shake the stars, and the war was no longer one-sided. Above, the alien command ship grew silent. The officers who once mocked humans now spoke in hushed tones. "They should not have this power," one whispered. "They are not supposed to fight like this," another muttered. But the truth was clear. The Empire's first strike had awakened something they could not control. The Guardian stood tall, smoking and scarred, yet alive. Its lights burned like the eyes of a predator, ready for the next hunt. Below, humanity gathered their strength. The invaders had shown their power. But now humanity had revealed its hidden arsenal, and the galaxy itself was beginning to take notice. The war had only begun, but the tide was already starting to turn, turning the tide. The Guardian's victory over the alien cruisers spread across the world like wildfire. News stations that once reported only destruction now showed footage of the mighty warship blasting enemy vessels from the sky. In shelters, families cheered. In bunkers, soldiers raised their fists. And even in the ruins of burning cities, survivors whispered with hope. For the first time since the sky turned red, humanity was not only surviving, it was fighting back. The aliens, enraged, threw more ships at the Guardian. The night sky lit with fire as beams of energy rained down. The Guardian shook under the pressure, its armor cracking, but it refused to fall. Inside the ship, crew members shouted orders, their faces pale with exhaustion but fierce with determination. Every hit they took was another reason to strike harder, yet the war was not fought by the Guardian alone. Across the planet, hidden arsenals awoke. In the deserts, underground missile silos opened, firing rockets that screamed into the sky. In the oceans, submarines released torpedoes that streaked toward alien warships with deadly precision. In the forests, mobile strike teams ambushed alien drones, using hacked codes to confuse and destroy them. The world that once seemed broken now fought as one. Alien commanders tried to adapt. They had faced rebellions before, uprisings from lesser worlds, but this was different. Humans did not fight in patterns. They did not retreat in neat lines. They struck with chaos and fire. One moment they attacked with missiles, the next they used old trucks loaded with explosives. The aliens had advanced technology, but humanity had something stronger, unpredictable will. In New York, where skyscrapers lay shattered, civilians joined the fight. Electricians rewired the city's grid to overload alien drones. Firefighters turned their hoses into weapons, spraying burning fuel onto enemy machines. Even children helped by carrying supplies into the basements where soldiers fought. Every person, no matter how small, became part of Earth's resistance. The Empire did not understand. Their records told them that when they struck, civilizations bent their knees, but humans bent in another way. They bent only to rise again. The aliens called it madness, but it was something far stronger. It was defiance, the kind that turned fear into fury. The Guardian pressed forward, leading a small fleet of experimental ships into the heart of the alien swarm. Its cannons thundered, tearing holes in the enemy lines. Other human ships followed, weaving through enemy fire, moving in ways no alien AI could predict. The battle became a storm, Earth's skies blazing with explosions that lit the night. Alien ships, once invincible, now burned like falling stars. In the command ship above, alien officers argued. "They fight like animals," one said. "No," another replied, his voice filled with unease. "They fight like predators." For the first time, doubt spread through the Empire's ranks. If one small world could resist so fiercely, what would happen if others followed their example? And indeed, whispers spread beyond Earth, rebel colonies in distant star systems. Mrs. caught fragments of human broadcasts. They saw the Guardian breaking enemy ships apart. They heard humanity's vow never to kneel. In their hearts, something stirred. If Earth could resist the Empire, maybe they could too. But on Earth, the cost of resistance was heavy. Cities burned, families wept, and the dead filled the streets. The Guardian limped through battle, scarred and battered. Its crew patched holes with whatever they could, fighting not only aliens but exhaustion and despair. Yet every time it seemed the ship would fall, it rose again. Every time it seemed humanity would break, it struck back harder. The tide was turning, slowly, painfully, but undeniably. Where once the Empire saw Earth as prey, now they saw a nightmare they could not control. Every drone destroyed, every ship shot from the sky, every soldier who refused to die, it all carved fear into the heart of the Empire. As the fourth night of battle ended, the Guardian stood tall above the ruins, its lights glowing like fire in the darkness. The people below lifted their eyes to it, not as a machine, but as a symbol. The aliens had brought fear, but humans had answered with fire. And the war was no longer about Earth alone. It was about the galaxy itself. For if humanity could shatter the chains of an empire, who else might rise? The tide of war had begun to change, and the galaxy was watching. The Empire trembles, far above the Earth. The alien Empire's command ship floated in silence. Its halls, once filled with arrogance, now echoed with fear. The officers who had laughed at humanity's weakness now whispered in hushed tones. Their glowing screens showed endless reports. Alien cruisers destroyed, drones falling, rebellion spreading. The word repeated again and again across the galaxy. Humans. The Guardians' victories had shaken more than just the invasion fleet. They had shaken the Empire itself. Worlds that once obeyed the Empire without question now heard of Earth's defiance. Broadcasts, hacked by humans and spread through hidden channels, showed the warship tearing through the sky. They showed people, wounded and bleeding, standing tall in the ruins, declaring, "We will not kneel." In distant star systems, enslaved species whispered the same words. They fight back, they said. They resist. Some raised old banners of rebellion, once thought useless, now shining with new hope. The Empire's strength was built on fear, but now that fear was breaking, and it was breaking because of one world. Earth. On Earth itself, the battle was far from over. Cities still burned, families still wept. But the spirit of the people had changed. Where once they hid in silence, now they sang songs of defiance in the ruins. Soldiers painted the symbol of the Guardian on their armor. Civilians scrawled it across walls. Everywhere people whispered, "We can fight, we can win." The alien emperor, sitting on his throne of obsidian deep within the core worlds, received the reports. His hands gripped the arms of his chair as his generals trembled before him. "Explain this failure," he demanded, his voice sharp as a blade. One general bowed low. "They are not like the others, my emperor. Their spirit does not break." The emperor's eyes glowed with fury. "Then we will break their bodies," he said, but in the back of his mind, a seed of doubt began to grow. On the front lines, the alien fleet prepared its next assault, but hesitation slipped into their movements. They had lost ships, commanders, and the confidence that once guided them. Every time they faced the Guardian, their pride cracked a little more, and the humans fought like fire, spreading, unpredictable, unrelenting. In the ruins of Paris, resistance fighters ambushed a squad of alien soldiers armed with stolen weapons. They struck fast and vanished into the shadows. In the deserts of Africa, tribes joined together, launching attacks on alien drones with old trucks turned into weapons. In the frozen lands of Siberia, soldiers dragged down an alien walker with nothing but ropes, fire, and courage. Every corner of the earth had become a battlefield, and every human had become a fighter. The Empire began to tremble, not only from human strength, but from the idea of humanity itself, a species that refused to bow, a people who turned weakness into fury. The aliens realized something terrible. If humans could rise against them, then so could others. The thought spread like wildfire through the stars. The Empire's chains were loosening, and the sound of breaking echoed louder with each passing day. Inside the Guardian, the crew watched the reports coming in. One officer whispered, "It's not just us anymore." The captain nodded, his voice heavy but proud. "We are not fighting only for Earth. We are fighting for every world that has ever been crushed by this empire." His words spread through the ship, through the soldiers, through the people. They were no longer just defending their home. They were inspiring a galaxy. The Empire, once unshakable, now trembled like glass under a hammer. The Emperor sent orders for the construction of a massive mothership, a vessel larger than any ever seen, a weapon meant to crush Earth in one final strike. It was to be the Empire's answer to defiance. But even as the Emperor planned, his empire cracked from within. Whispers of rebellion grew into shouts. Chains that had held for centuries began to snap. The Empire's subjects, once silent, now dreamed of freedom, and at the center of it all stood humanity, scarred, bloodied, but unbroken. They were no longer the prey, they were the spark. The Empire trembled, and the galaxy began to shift. What began as an invasion of one small world was turning into something much greater, something the Empire feared more than any weapon: hope, the final battle. The Emperor's command shook through the Empire. "Build the mothership," he ordered, his voice echoing across star systems. It was not just a ship, but a monster forged of steel and fire, larger than cities, armed with weapons that could split planets. The Empire poured everything into its creation, believing it would end Earth once and for all. When the mothership arrived in orbit, Earth trembled. Its shadows stretched across oceans and continents, where the Guardian looked mighty. The mothership looked eternal, a black fortress hanging above the world. Its cannons glowed with burning energy, each one capable of turning entire cities into dust. The alien fleet gathered around it like servants around a king. On the ground, humans looked up in fear. Some prayed, some cried, some clenched their fists. They had fought bravely, but now they faced a weapon beyond imagination. Even the Guardian, scarred and tired from endless battles, seemed small beside the mothership. The people whispered, "Is this the end?" Inside the Guardian, the captain gathered his crew. The air was heavy with silence. He looked into their eyes, each one weary but unbroken. "This will be our last stand," he said, his voice calm but fierce. "We are outnumbered, we are outgunned, but we are human, and we do not kneel." His words carried through the ship, filling every soul with fire. The Guardian rose into the sky, joined by the smaller experimental ships. Jets soared beside them. Submarines launched missiles from below the seas. Armies on the ground aimed every weapon they had. The entire planet united for one final strike. Humanity would not go quietly. Humanity would roar. The mothership unleashed its fury. Beams of energy tore through the skies. Oceans boiled, mountains split, whole cities vanished in seconds, leaving only fire and smoke. The Guardian dodged through the storm, its cannons blazing, striking at the mothership's shields. Each shot shook the giant, but its armor held. Alien commanders laughed in cold triumph. "They cannot pierce us," they said. But inside the Guardian, the engineers worked furiously. They poured every ounce of power into the ship's core, every spark, every drop of energy. If they failed, Earth would be ash. If they succeeded, the galaxy would change forever. The battle raged for hours. Human ships fell one by one, yet they fought to the last breath. Civilians joined too, launching rockets, drones, anything they could build into the skies. The mothership crushed them. But every sacrifice opened a crack, every death carved a wound in the Empire's pride. Then came the moment. The Guardian broke through the alien fleet, its engines screaming, its hull burning. It flew straight toward the mothership, dodging fire, weaving through explosions. Inside, alarms blared, sparks flew, crew members shouted, but their eyes never wavered. They had one chance, one shot, and they would take it. The captain gave the order. "Fire everything," he said. The Guardian unleashed its entire arsenal, a storm of light and fury that slammed into the mothership's core. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the giant shook, its shields flickering, its armor cracking. The mothership roared like a wounded beast. The aliens screamed in disbelief. "This is impossible," they cried. But it was not impossible. It was human. It was the defiance of a species that refused to die. The Guardian's cannons fired again and again until the mothership's core exploded in a sun of fire. The sky burned brighter than ever before. The shockwave ripped across the heavens, tearing the alien fleet apart. Ships crumbled, drones shattered, fire lit the night like 1,000 stars falling at once on the ground. People shielded their eyes from the burning light. When the fire faded, the mothership was gone. The Empire's greatest weapon had been destroyed. The Guardian, scarred and broken, drifted through the smoke. Its lights dimmed, its hull cracked. But it was alive. Inside, the crew cheered with tears streaming down their faces. They had done it. They had turned despair into victory. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The humans had destroyed the mothership, the symbol of the Empire's power. Rebellions exploded into flames, chains were shattered, worlds rose in defiance. The Empire trembled not only with fear, but with collapse. And on Earth, among the ruins and ashes, humanity stood tall. They had faced the greatest weapon of the galaxy and survived. The final battle had ended, but the war was far from over. The Empire still lived, but it was no longer eternal, for humanity had shown the galaxy what it meant to fight, and the galaxy would never forget. Shattered Empire, rising humanity. The smoke of the final battle still hung in the sky. The seas boiled, the cities burned, and the world bore deep scars. Yet in the silence after the storm, one truth remained. Earth still lived, the mothership was gone, the fleet scattered, and the once unshakable empire trembled in fear. Across the planet, survivors stepped out of the ruins. They looked up at the shattered sky where alien fire no longer burned. Children, dirty and trembling, pointed at the Guardian drifting above. To them, it was not just a ship, but a beacon, a symbol that humanity had not fallen. And for the first time since the invasion began, hope was louder than fear. In the great halls of the Empire, panic spread like wildfire. Generals heard, governors rebelled. Entire worlds sent desperate messages of doubt. How could a single world do this, they asked. How could humans destroy the mothership? The Emperor sat upon his throne, his claws gripping the arms of his chair until they cracked. He had ruled through fear, but fear was no longer his weapon. Now it was his weakness. Whispers turned into cries across the galaxy. On slave worlds, workers dropped their chains, refusing to bow. On distant colonies, banners of rebellion rose high into the air. The message was simple, and it spread through every star system. If Earth can fight, so can we. The Empire's fleets tried to tighten their grip, but each order was met with resistance. Captains deserted, soldiers refused to fight. Planets declared their independence. The Empire had thought it could silence Earth with fire. Instead, Earth had given the galaxy a voice. On Earth, the Guardian landed for the first time since its rise. Its hull was cracked, its engines nearly broken, but it stood like a titan among ruins. Crowds gathered around it, cheering, crying, lifting their voices in one song of survival. The captain stepped out with his crew, each one scarred but unbroken. The people reached for them, not as strangers, but as heroes. One child stepped forward, her face covered in ash, her voice small but steady. "You saved us," she said. The captain knelt, his eyes heavy with tears, and replied, "No, we saved each other." The word spread through the crowd, through the cities, through the entire planet. Humanity had not only survived, it had risen. The galaxy watched with awe. No longer was humanity a forgotten species on a small blue world. They were now a force that had shattered an empire's pride, a species that had turned despair into fire, weakness into defiance. Their story spread through the stars like a legend. The day the sky burned red had become the day the galaxy changed forever. The Emperor, hiding in his throne room, stared into the darkness. His empire crumbled, his fleets broken, his fear growing. He whispered the word he once mocked: humans. It was not spoken with contempt anymore, but with dread. For the galaxy, it was a new dawn. Worlds rose from slavery, chains fell, and rebellions grew stronger. And at the center of it all stood Earth, scarred, bloodied, but undefeated. A planet that had been declared a colony, but had become a beacon of freedom instead. The Empire had shattered, but humanity had risen. The Guardians stood in silence, a monument to the courage of its people. Its lights flickered in the night, reflecting in the eyes of those who survived. They knew the war was not over. The Empire would return in some form. But now the galaxy understood the truth. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was the storm. And as stars burned above, a new legend was born. The day aliens attacked Earth was the day humanity shattered their empire forever. The galaxy would never forget, and humanity would never kneel.